So last year, when my mother and I moved into the house we purchased here in Fairfax, this is what our sweet home looked like 10 days before school started. So as you can see, we had nothing. We didn't have a TV, a dining table, a bed. We didn't even have running water. Fortunately, as a perfectionist, of course, first we needed a car. As a perfectionist myself, I had already completed hours of extensive research and selected what I thought was the best car for our family. A 2016 Honda Civic. It's got mileage, unbelievable ratings, fantastic durability. This is not a car commercial, I promise. Therefore, the only thing left for me to do is to buy the car at the lowest price possible. Thinking I was being so smart, my tactic was to visit the first car dealership, negotiate with them for their best price, and then visit every single dealership within a 30-mile radius to see if they can beat the price of the previous one. So for 3 days, my mom and I just traveled in our little rental car and carried out our plan and looking for the best deal possible. However, after the tiring 3 days, we stepped out of our last dealership only to realize that the deal offered by our first dealership was actually the best one out of all of them. So we went back to our first stop, bought the car, and got ripped off a few $100s for missing the last day sale. So that's when I truly started to question my perfectionism and how it affected my decision making. I mean, was it really worth the effort to spend 3 days traveling just to get the perfect deal on the car that we had already decided on? Shouldn't there be a point where I confidently tell myself, maybe this is good enough? To answer that question, I had to understand what perfectionism is. Essentially, perfectionism is a personality trait of one's enthusiasm towards high standards and flawlessness. It is particularly common in environments with fierce competition, which is pretty much everywhere in the world right now, where people are more determined to do their best and outperform those around them. However, after reading pages and pages of articles titled as How to Overcome Perfectionism or How to Free Yourself from Being a Perfectionist, I realized that many people consider perfectionism to be an illness. It's like an unhealthy mindset that produces unhappiness and distress. However, I thought to myself, there has to be a different approach. There has to be a way with which I can, instead of hiding from perfectionism, utilize it to my advantage. So how do we do that? In 1978, psychologist D.E. Hemachek introduced two opposite types of perfectionisms, normal and neurotic perfectionism. Essentially, normal perfectionists possess a healthy and positive mindset towards failures and imperfections while gaining satisfaction during the process of achieving perfection. However, when neurotic perfectionists fail to meet their goals, they often experience anxiety or depression followed by harsh self-evaluation. After the same amount of effort that is put forth, normal perfectionists are able to do their best and enjoy the process, while neurotic perfectionists seem to blame themselves for allowing the error to happen. In a study conducted in 2010 by the Isfahan University of Medical Sciences, 793 Iranian school students were surveyed on their psychological characteristics using related questionnaires, and here are the results. Although both types of perfectionists suffered from some level of anxiety just because of the natural intensity of perfectionism, a lower depression level was strongly associated with a higher normal perfectionism score. In contrast, for those students who struggled with a higher neurotic perfectionism score, they also seemed to struggle with higher levels of depression, indicating that they seem to be a lot more unhappy in their lives compared to the normal perfectionists. So how do we all become normal perfectionists and stay away from the neurotic aspects from striving for excellence? First, analyze the importance of the task and try to enjoy yourselves during the process. For example, perfection derives from pressure. So when there's no pressure, we generally should not feel the need to always try our best and seek perfection. For example, when I play pick a basketball game with my friends and maybe miss a wide open layup, nothing serious is going to happen coming out of this, right? I mean, maybe I'll be a little embarrassed, but that's it. However, if the same thing happens during the final minutes of an NBA championship game, the backlash of such failure would be unimaginable. So if something is important, try harder. If we all tackle our problems in life with the same high level of intensity, we usually end up wearing ourselves out, allowing the unnecessary self-criticism to sneak in. Sometimes we really need to relax and slack off, while sometimes we really need to put in maximum level of concentration to yield the best result possible. Second, remind yourself that it's okay to fail. I know that the word failure itself kind of contradicts with the concept of perfection and perfectionism, but trials and errors are how human and other species learn and improve. It is not necessary to constantly seek perfection while not enjoying the process. So maybe the first deal on my Honda Civic was already good enough. Maybe I should have taken it instead of traveling around the town like an idiot. But at the end of the day, after 3 days, I became a better listener, I became a better negotiator, and I became a proud car owner of a 2016 Honda Civic, which has great mileage, unbelievable durability, fantastic ratings. Ultimately, I learned to enjoy the process of seeking perfection other than the superficial outcome of it. It's like what the legendary football coach Vince Lombardi always said, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. Thank you.